No Movies in Hell. I'm Chris Geiger.
I'm LaCroix Scott, and today we are reviewing Infinity Pool. Is it body horror or is it just standard like sci-fi, Cronenberg family?
I think it's both. This came out when? March, April?
Oh gosh. Actually in like I think I saw it in theaters in January.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
January. So I didn't see it in the theaters. It wasn't in theaters for very long. And
No, it wasn't.
and I wasn't in town. I wasn't in the States, and it didn't get distributed in where I was. So
Okay.
um it looked interesting,
Yes.
but it also looked
Interesting to say
very
the least.
disturbing. So
Yes.
it was one of those movies where I was like, I'm afraid to watch this because when I'm 85 and in the nursing home and these visions flash back in my head and I'm just screaming for no reason, the nurses will be very confused. So
They'll say, "Oh, you watched Infinity Pool for sure."
right. So I was like, I don't know if I want to watch it. And I can't remember what the trailer had in it so much that it seemed more disturbing than Crimes of the Future, because Crimes of the Future
Mm.
also had some disturbing images in it in the trailer, but I did want to watch that. So I wasn't sure. I was kind of afraid of this movie a little bit. But now it's streaming on Hulu and I can watch it in my apartment with all the lights on in the middle of the
First thing
day,
in the morning.
so I don't have to go to sleep right after. Yes. So it's like, okay, I can probably handle it this time. I liked it.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely liked it. I don't know that I would recommend it to anyone, but
Yeah.
I did like it a lot. What did you think?
So for context, I saw this movie in the theater when it first came out. I think it was the opening weekend. We were one of the only people to see it. There's only one other person in the theater with us. And so it was like, oh, this is not an indicator that this will be in AMC for that long. My initial thoughts, yes, the trailer is like way different and kind of terrifying. The film is it's it's just really interesting. It's like a cross between like kind of a horror. There are some elements of comedy, a thriller, because you just don't know going into the film. It's like you just don't know what is going to happen.
Right. I kind of thought after it was over, I thought, you know what, this is a cross between Crimes of the Future and yeah, I don't know. There are definitely Cronenberg-esque elements
Yes,
to it, right? Like I was like, you could actually call this movie Crimes of the Future, and you would never know that that wasn't the original title.
that's true. They could swap actually titles.
Yeah,
So Infinity Pool would be for Crimes of the Future, because this one actually involves like crime
right.
uh, in a traditional way.
I thought I liked it a lot. It was a very complicated storyline, which I
Yes.
enjoyed. I also liked the setup. You know, it's in this country, you're not sure what country it is. At the resort, everything is lovely. It almost seems like you step back in time to like the 1960s in the resort.
Hmm.
Like the cars are all very old, but they're all very well
Hmm.
like maintained. So maybe they're brand new cars, but they just, you know, like in the 1960s, those cars would have been new. So
Yeah.
it seemed like you couldn't really set it in a time period once you hit the resort.
Yes.
Um, of course, outside of the resort, everything is modern, but or as it is today. And of course, they have modern technology, like cell phones, and even like more than modern technology, where they can do this body transference consciousness thing. Spoiler alert. Um, so I thought it was really interesting. I thought the performances were good. Well, let's go to the slides. Let's see.
Yeah.
It's hard to like judge this because you and I classified it differently. I think you classified it as uh, something, and then you subcategorized it as horror. You
Hmm.
classified it as a thriller, and I classified it as horror. But that
Okay.
changes like how we compare it to the average movie of that genre.
Yes.
So
Yes. Very much so.
for me, this was a really good horror movie.
Uh, I felt like for me, I thought it was a thriller because really you don't get into the horror until, or at least, in my per like from my perspective, I see the horror in when the punishment comes up. So when, you know, spoiler alert, when these folks at this resort are encouraged not to leave the resort, and when they do, a crime is committed, and it's an accident. And the punishment of the crime is creating a replicant of yourself, and that replicant gets punished. So essentially, the source of the crime actually is never punished at all. So I think it emboldens these people who are, um, probably very wealthy travelers in this, European country to commit more crimes, or to get things that they want. And then when being charged, again, they are not at fault. It is their replicant. So I just felt like that was like the horror, because really, they're not really experiencing any of this. They are the audience seeing these things happen, or punishment happen to their clones. So it it's just very interesting concept of kind of punishment, and what people feel like they can get away with and what they do. And so you see this character, played by Alexander Skarsgård, just kind of try to get out of this like pact that, friendship pact that he has with these people, and try to like get his life back together. Essentially, he's given an ultimatum by his wife. He's, seeing that like this is very destructive behavior, and I think he's a writer, and he has to like get back on the ball to finish up things that he's writing. So I thought I thought this film was good. I'm glad that it's available for streaming on Hulu. Very interesting concept that you really don't see that often. I just thought it's really interesting.
I definitely define this as horror because of that, like the lack of consequences, and how you know, he also is horrified by it at first, but then
Mhm.
he very quickly comes on board, and he like waffles back and forth. Like he's like in, he's out, he's in, he's out. I thought that part was great in terms of the acting and like the struggle that he's going through. But he wants to be one of the cool kids. And then when you see them on the last bus transport back to the airport, and how
Yeah.
everyone's sort of like reacclimating into their normal suburban lives at home, that part is also horrifying. Right. I thought it was good. And I say I wouldn't recommend it, but I might recommend it to a certain subset of friends.
Right, right. It's not like, you're going,
Yeah.
you're gonna recommend it to just anyone. It's like, oh, if you like maybe other Cronenberg films, maybe Crimes of the Future, maybe even like Black Mirror, you would definitely like this.
Yeah. I continue to be impressed by Mia Goth, though. Like,
Yes.
so good.
Yeah, she was great in this.
Yeah. I need to look up other stuff that she's been in and go back through her stuff. Yeah, I think
I
for a
think,
while I
yeah.
wasn't like seeking her out, or she wasn't on my radar.
Yeah. I mean, what, Pearl X? I think she's been in horror for, just getting her start in horror in the last couple years.
Hmm. Theater Camp. Have you seen the trailer for that?
No, Theater Camp?
Yeah, it looks really
Okay.
cute. It's like almost like a Christopher Guest-ish style movie
Oh, like a
about like,
mockumentary?
yeah, about like these camp counselors and these kids who go to theater camp. So that one looks good. And also The Lesson. Have you seen the trailer for that?
No, the
So that's
lesson.
about a guy who is a writer. He has two sons. One of his sons passes away in some sort of tragic event. in his like late teens, early 20s, maybe. And then his other son is like in his maybe mid to late teens when the story takes place. And he gets a tutor to come help him with his writing, I guess. And so it's the interaction between the tutor and the family and the guy who is the father, who is also a professional writer and like, of course, highly acclaimed. And so the tutor is coming to his house because he wants really to work alongside this famous writer, or at least experience meeting him and living in his house. So it looks interesting. It looks a little bit thriller-ish. And that's out this week. I'm looking forward to like the big blockbusters, but also some of the smaller movies that like will slide in
Definitely.
under the radar. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.